Capitalism is notable as the most creative, productive, and successful engine for growth and prosperity ever devised, lifting billions from poverty, creating peaceful networks of trade, and driving regular waves of innovation and wealth creation. But capitalism is also seriously flawed. It has evolved to become ever more narrow, short-term, disconnected, unstable, inequitable, and, perhaps most troubling, unsustainable. Our production systems have become so big and so wasteful and have so rigorously externalized and undervalued natural capital that they're now pushing up against our planetary boundaries and threatening to destroy the very ecosystems on which we all depend. Our current system is in need of reform, but that is a formidable task. As capitalism is a huge and hugely complex, interconnected system, held in place by powerful entrenched interests, overseen by governments lacking in imagination and political will, and populated by citizens who feel disempowered and ambiguous about change. Despite the dedicated efforts of many people over many years, we've not yet been able to shift things dramatically enough, fast enough, to sufficiently alter the path we're on. Clearly, a different approach is needed. If we're to change course, it is vital that we harness the creative energies of capitalism itself to drive its own restructuring. We need to engage the positive aspects of capitalism, the simple operating rules that delegate the complex details to the distributed intelligence of the market, ownership that engages the motivational power of freedom and self-interest via the rights to property, profits, and the recognition of achievement, competition to fuel creative destruction and the relentless drive for innovation and improvement, and finance fully realized as a means to pool our resources and efficiently allocate them to the most worthy and productive endeavors. The vast transformative power of finance and business is likely the only force capable of creating the speed and scale of change we need. Telis Mater's mission is to catalyze a shift to sustainable capitalism, to change the operating rules of capitalism so that finance can better fulfill its role in directing the flows of financial capital to production systems that preserve and enhance rather than exploiting and destroying natural capital. We're pragmatic enough to recognize that we must start with the economic system we have and thoughtfully transform it to operate with more transparency, better metrics, a longer-term perspective, and proper valuation of its social and environmental externalities. We know that we can't begin to solve this problem alone, and thus Telis Mater works to build coalitions whose combined efforts will be much greater than our disconnected actions. We also recognize that we must deal with the economy as a complex system, and that our economic problems will not yield to simple solutions or a few magic bullets. Thus, to drive the pragmatic, collaborative transformation we're after, we must employ new and better tools for large-scale systems change. To that end, Telis Mater has initiated an ongoing process of systemic analysis and mapping, a sense-making process designed to generate a broader and more holistic understanding of the system we're trying to change, to see the components of capitalism and how they fit together so that we can work with rather than against the system. Catalog the market failures, barriers, misformed operating rules, systemic irrationalities, etc. that make the current system so dysfunctional. Build a positive vision of a better, more functional system that will unlock sustainable shared value. Map who is doing what to effect this transformation. And forge a realistic theory of change that identifies the leverage points, critical operating rules, key stakeholders, and a coherent strategy that applies pressure through a suite of aligned interventions across different parts of the system to move us rapidly towards tipping points. The system mapping process should help those working in this space to bridge the gap between theory and practice, integrating the best thinking on how the system should work and the most effective means to drive that transformation. Catalyze effective conversations that build productive relationships, breaking down the silos between people working on different facets of the same problem. Build a common understanding, a shared strategic framework that will advance our individual and collective agendas. The maps will continue to evolve, and we hope be used by different groups to build out specific areas and issues in more detail, to unlock other leverage points in the system. We can't tackle the whole system at once, thus Telesmodder will be focusing on different parts of the system in an ongoing, rolling basis. For example, starting in 2013, we'll be looking at pension funds as a significant part of the financial system and one that can and should be leading the shift towards more responsible and sustainable investment practices. We have the right and we have the power to address the flaws in our current system, to use our imagination and intelligence to restructure capitalism to better serve our needs. Economic systems are a form of culture. They are created by people, for people, and working together we can forge a better system, a more rational and functional system, a system that will better serve our long-term interests and empower us to create a world that is more stable, equitable, bountiful, and sustainable. We invite you to join us in this endeavor. Please get in touch if you'd like to participate in our coalition or learn how to apply the systems maps to understanding your particular challenges.